Welcome again to Rabbanit Bat-Chen Grossman, who created a unique breakthrough method and the systems to implement it that completely integrates God into every aspect of your life to totally transform your marriage into the marriage you always wanted, one that is loving, fulfilling, where you feel aligned and connected. Her unique methods and systems are simple, practical, and will achieve fast and long-lasting results. And now I just wanted to make clear that that was background about Rabbanit Grossman in terms of her general area of occupation. But in the following shiur, we will not be focused solely on the issue of marriage.
Correct. We are focusing more on our relationship with God and our relationship with other people in general, relationships, and ourselves, of course. Always goes back to our relationship with ourselves. Okay, so welcome everyone. Today's session is open Q&A. So if anybody has any questions, they can put them in the chat. You can raise your hand on video, or you can also use the little emoji that raises your hand, which is really fun. And that way I will know you have a question. We do have a bunch of questions that came in ahead of time, so we're going to be addressing those. And as things come up, I am so happy to go with the flow. And that's the way I like to do it. So let's get started. I actually have my handy dandy questions here. So we're going to start. Let's do this one. How does one deal with a relative pressuring one to be less or more religious? And this is a great one. And it's something that's very common because we are all growing and we have our natural ups and downs, and we're all searching, and each one of us is an entire world, right? And it's very beautiful to see how we are constantly changing and finding ourselves. And it's just the most dynamic thing about this world, that each one of us is so unique, and we're going through our own journeys to connect to God, to connect to ourselves, to get through this life and everything that's coming up, right? So, and by the way, this does come up a lot in marriage. I'm a marriage coach, so I'm going to bring it back, even though we're not talking about marriage here specifically, but I'm going to bring this up just for your awareness. This comes up a lot in marriage when one person says, "What's going on? My husband's getting more religious. I don't know if I can handle it." Or the opposite, my husband's getting less religious and I don't know if I can handle it. And it happens the other way. My wife is, doing things or whatever. So this is very common. And it's something that you can't control, right? You can't control other people. And so if we were asking the question was, what do I do with people who are pressuring me to not change? And, I was saying before, like, we can't control other people. Same goes the other way too. Other people cannot control us. And as much as they can try, and as much as they could pressure, and as much as they can, suffocate, at the end of the day, you have choice. And that's what this is all about, right? So you're not going to be able to use the excuse of, but they made me do it, because it doesn't work. Nobody can make you do anything. It's always back to, what do I want and what's important to me? And then what am I going to do about it? Thank God I see people coming in. It's so fun. I want to sit here and say, yeah, everyone. So I got sidetracked, but was that a good answer to the question? If the person who asked the question has a follow-up question, let me know. But this is really, the first step is realizing that you can take responsibility for your journey and no one else can affect that journey. Now, let's go on to the next level. Yeah, but I'm sitting at the Shabbos table, or I'm sitting at the Rosh Hashanah table. I'm sitting at the Sukkot, the Sukkah with all my family, which, we made this special class specifically because we wanted to make sure that, usually when things are in routine, you don't have much conflict that is, shakes you up. Usually there's this like, every day I do the same thing. I go, I come, I do, I have, whatever, right? So it's less of a issue. The times when it becomes a real issue is in the times where everybody is together and everybody is expected to be together, right? For my parents, it's one of the biggest things, like a huge value, this togetherness. And you find yourself together all the time with people who you're not together with, or maybe you don't agree with. And now what? Right? That doesn't happen in my family. I'm just giving you an example. But every family has that, right? We're normal. We're all normal. Every single human has an opinion and the things that they hold dear and different levels of different things they prioritize, or different priorities that are important to them, different values. So we put a lot of people together who maybe came from the same place, right? We're all one family, or we're all came from the same place. And suddenly you find yourself dealing with things that are challenging for you. And by the way, the reason why this happens, one second, what if one feels uncomfortable telling one's parents that one wants to do or not do something that the parents feel is unnecessary? This is such a personal question, and it's really every situation for itself, but I'm going to try and go there. But one second, I had something I was going to say about what we were talking about before. What was I saying? I forgot, but we'll get there. Okay, so if you're uncomfortable speaking with your parents about something that you are or not comfortable doing, I would say, you know what? I think we should go back to the basics, because that's what's coming to me. It's going to answer a lot of the questions that we have, because the calm method, which is the method that I created when I reverse engineered how I got from that really icky stuck place to where I am now, it stands for four letters, right? Calm, CALM. And the C stands for connect to yourself. And that's step one. And you cannot skip step one. You can't say, oh, it doesn't matter, I'm just going to go talk to God and ask him what he wants. Well, you can't do that, because it sounds very different when you know what you want and then you go and ask for it. It sounds different than when you just go and ask and don't know what you want. It's like, I don't know what I want, can you decide for me? It gets very like icky. But when you say, I know what is, you're calling me to do, and help me do it, right? It's a different ask. So connect to yourself, ask for abundance, listen for the answer, and master a higher level of consciousness. Those are the four letters, right? Calm. Connect to yourself, step one. So again, we go back to these questions. What do I do if I'm not 100% comfortable with where I am, or I haven't solidified what level of religiosity I am, or something, whatever it is, right? Which is like weird, because we're all on this journey. So there's never really a solid, solidified way of being, because you're always growing and always changing. But I can understand that feeling, right? Where you're like, I just want to know exactly where I am, where I stand, and then I'll be able to stand and say, this is who I am. But before you're there, you're like, what do I do? So first, you get really clear on what do you want? What do I want? Connect to yourself, feel your body, feel your belly, your intuition, your gut feelings. What is going on with you? And how can you get grounded, right? Back to yourself. When we say grounded, we're getting back to what actually matters. all the noise on the outside of what people think of you and what you should do and what's expected and all that stuff, that's all external noise. We want to just block it off for a second. It does not take more than a second to really get grounded. So step one, connect to yourself. Step two is ask for abundance, ask for assistance, ask for guidance. And you guessed it, you're asking God, right? We're turning to Hashem and saying, Hashem, help me. I really want peace. I really want to have a good relationship with my parents. I really want my parents to hear me out, to understand where I'm coming from. I really want to, whatever it is that you want, right? I want to stay in Israel, or I want them to understand that I don't want to go to this specific college, whatever it is that you're going through, right? First, know what you want, and then ask for guidance, because everything comes from Hashem. Hashem is the source of everything. It's funny, right? It's like almost ridiculous to say it because we know it, but when we're in the middle of it, we don't feel it. So let's get realigned, okay? Hashem is the source of everything. He is the one who put you in the situation so you can connect to him. And do you have a question? No, okay. And once we have that connection with God, right? We had our connection with ourselves, connection with God. The next step is listen for the answer. And listen for the answer is a really interesting one because it basically means that God will show you the answer to your question through reality. So if, let's say I say, I want my parents to hear me out, or I want to tell my parents I want to stay in Israel, or I want to whatever, not go to this specific place because I see that it's not good for me. I get really in touch with myself. I know what I want. I ask Hashem, I say, help me, guide me. Real connection there, right? And then you let go. And you trust and you believe that Hashem is going to guide you. And the way Hashem guides you is through reality. Whatever is coming from outside to show you what to do, right? Sometimes it's from within, but a lot of times it's if it's from within, it's almost like a download. Okay, it feels like a inspiration. But when it's from without, which is really interesting because most of the time it's life telling us, giving us the answers. Suddenly your parents are going to say, we were thinking about other options and maybe you want to go to this place instead. And you're like, oh, wow. Right. And it suddenly works out. Or they say, what? No way. The way that they react is going to help you figure out what you want. And then master a higher level of consciousness means that you had this experience. You connected to yourself, you asked God, you got the answer. And now the easiest thing is to say, next, just, keep going on with life. Let's find the next issue. Let's ask for the next help, guidance, assistance, advice, right? And we just going on this roller coaster of ups and downs. I'm great. And then I have another issue. And now I'm connecting to myself in order to get great again. And we're going up and down, up and down. The way to lower the intensity of that up and down is to be able to master the higher level of consciousness. So instead of constantly hitting bottom again and rising, you want to use that rising as your new floor and, use that as to propel you forward. Okay. So the way to do that is by thanking God or by thanking people or by being grateful, right? All those things are going to really solidify the experience you had and help you propel forward in the most up direction. It's been a long day, so my English is going to be very funny today. I'm hearing myself like finish sentences that make no sense, so I'm making myself laugh. But I make up words all the time, so up direction sounded great to me right now. So Are there any questions from people who are live, or should I take another question from the sent in questions? And was that clear enough? You can unmute yourself. No questions. Okay. So we'll keep going. How does one deal with a parent who speaks disrespectfully? Great question. Well, the best thing is don't speak disrespectfully back, right? And this is very hard to say, and it's very hard to do. But a lot of times what happens is the second somebody does something to us, we go right into their dance and we do it back. And we don't realize we're doing it. And maybe the disrespect is going to come in a different way. We're not saying bad words, but maybe we're, being disrespectful in other ways. I'm not going to start giving you ideas of how to be disrespectful as a parent. I think we spoke about this last time, about the mirrors. Did I tell you about this? I don't know if I did, so I will right now. You walk into the house, you find the mirror, you look at it, you realize that your shirt has a spot. And you're like, oh man, I can't believe it. So you go and you clean the mirror and you spray the mirror and you rub the mirror and you're cleaning and rubbing and spraying and doing and bleaching and nothing is working. Guess why? Does this sound ridiculous? Because the mirror is not the problem. Okay, so let's bring it back to our life. We do this all the time. We see someone outside of us. Of course, as a marriage coach, I speak about the husband all the time. We see something in our husbands, we don't like it, it's annoying, it's frustrating, they're selfish, they're not listening, they're an angry person, they're so awkward, they're so, don't get it, whatever. We think all these things about them, right? And we are trying to fix them, trying to help them, trying to guide them, trying to get them help, trying to work through blah, 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 all the stuff. And in reality, what's happening is that nothing's being cleaned, nothing's being changed. We look at the mirror, we're so frustrated. I've tried so many things. I paid so much money. I went to so many things and I've put my, so much effort into it and nothing. All my energy is gone. And it's the same as trying to clean the mirror, right? It doesn't matter how much you scrub and bleach. It's not where the problem is. Go back to yourself. And this is very hard because all of us are going to be like, resistance, no way. Protection, you can't tell me nothing is wrong with me, right? So it takes a lot of honesty and a lot of putting down those protection layers and being like, okay. And you don't have to do this in front of that person, right? You don't have to go and tell them, hey, I've decided to stop trying to change you and, focus on myself. You don't have to do that, but you could close the door, you could sit yourself down, you can maybe journal, or you can go for a walk and talk and just get it out of your system. Where am I being that? Where am I acting like that? Where am I being disrespectful, right? And sometimes it's not even with this person. It's I'm being disrespectful with, I don't know, my coworkers. I'm being disrespectful with someone else. And it's coming out here. And if I take upon myself or change my ways or really focus, oh, okay, this is what I need to do, then the mirror is going to stop showing me, right? It's not there anymore. And it's magic. People are like, oh my gosh. But really, it's just how God created the world. It's just, it is what it is, right? Hashem gave us the ability to use physical things that we understand to understand the spiritual world. So that was a long answer to if my parents are being disrespectful to me and to the choices I'm making and maybe to the lifestyle that I've chosen. The answer to that is work on finding where you are being disrespectful to someone else, maybe to them, maybe to someone else, about the same thing, about their choices, about their behavior, about what they've chosen to do with their life. And then suddenly you're like, oh, right. I had a person talk to me and say that he's exactly something very similar. His parents are disrespectful of what he's chosen, and he wants to live in Israel, and they don't want him to live in Israel, and he doesn't want to talk to them anymore because it's not nice, whatever, blah, 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 right? And then it turns out that he's upset with them, that they're judging him for his choices, and then he's really upset, the mirror, with them for their choices. And why can't they see things differently? And why are they this way? And it's like, just like you're allowed to choose, they're allowed to choose, and it's okay, right? So you finally free yourself from having, trying to change them. They will free themselves from trying to change you. It's going to be great. You guys are all going to be free. It's actually not as hard as we think, because if we let it be easy, things will be easy. I guess this issue also arises when changing between hashkafot. Yes, it's so interesting, because I always was very tickled by the word hashkafa, right? What's your hashkafa? Are you this or are you that? And I felt like it was so boxy. And I'm happy you brought this up, because I think that when you try to put yourself in a box or a label, what are you? And it's like, okay, I used to be this, and then I've decided to completely change my clothes, right? You hear the joke in that, like, your clothes, that's what you changed, right? Or no, it's not really the clothes, it's the whole mentality behind it. But really, you haven't changed. You're just opening yourself up to finding what is right for you right now, or what is working better for where you are in the world. Or maybe because you're so intellectually honest, you're finding things you didn't know before, and now you have more things to work with. And so you're just growing, right? I said before, a lot of people in the beginning of their journey are trying to solidify before they stand up for it, but really, you're never going to be solid. It's like, right, I work with women in business. So in business, you're never going to have a solid business. We're all in business, and the business is always growing, and you always want it to grow more, and you're never really satisfied with where you are, and there's always more to learn, and there's always more to delegate, and there's always more to create and work, and it's never ending. So to say that, I have solidified my hashkafa, and then one day I realized, oh, I'm in the wrong hashkafa. I'm going to switch over to another hashkafa, and now I'm here. It sounds a little silly when I say it that way, right? And I do not mean to be disrespectful. What I'm trying to say is, it's less about the labels. It's less about the names and the boxes and the cubes that we've created, and more about the unity and the oneness. And I believe that there is a lot less boundaries than we actually see with our eyes, because we see a lot of limitations in this world, and that's part of the world being olam hasheker. And in reality, we all have the same common denominator. We all want to connect to God. We all want to grow. We all want to have geula. We all want the same things. We all want the same things, and we all live for the same things. And all the separations are olam hasheker that we are buying into, and we don't have to. And we don't have to. So the problem is when parents perceive your choice to be a slap in the face. Yes. And that is really important. If step one, connect to yourself, was, I don't want them to think that I am disrespecting and, leaving their way or whatever it is. I really want them to see that I am becoming my fullest self, and I am leaning into, I'm shining. I'm really where I want to be, where I need to be, where I'm on the path that aligns with their goals, right? Sometimes we say, something came up for me. I have to stop myself and say this. A lot of parents want their kids to end up exactly like them. And when that happens, I look at the parents and I say, did you end up exactly like your parents? And the answer is probably not, because we as human beings get to choose, and we actually should choose. And if you have a kid who ends up being a robot and wants to just copy paste your life onto theirs, there's a problem, right? And if you want your kids to live the things that you weren't able to get to, or if you're hoping that your kids will get, to accomplish the things that you wish for them to accomplish, there's so much pressure there, and there's a lack of understanding of what's happening with the way generations work. Children do need to respect the standards of the house. Yes. And that's why the parent, if I'm talking to the parent, I'm going to say different things. I'm going to say, you're the parent and you have your home, and in your home, you have your rules and you have your expectations, and your children are going to step into those rules and expectations. And it makes sense for you to expect that because it's your home, right? And if you do it in a respectful way and in a loving way, your children are going to want to come home and they're going to want to be respectful. And by the way, this can start from a very young age. Let's say they get lots of junk, right? And all of like my son, he is a billionaire by the time Shabbat is over, because first he goes to the Nates Minyan and he does Imloch, and then he goes to the second Minyan and he, sings a song, and they all give him junk food and they're giving him tons of, oh gosh, the amount of sugar, right? And it's like, Urgh. So I say, please, leave it outside the house, or eat it outside the house, or trade it with your friends. I don't know, but the bringing in and the showing off and all of that stuff is just uncomfortable, right? So I, as the parent, can put those boundaries, and my children will learn that there are rules in the house and there are things you could do outside the house. Not that I am telling them go out and like eat all the junk food, but it just creates so much. So same thing, right? I would like, when you come home, please dress accordingly. And not that I am allowing you to dress otherwise outside the home, but you can't control them, right? There's nothing you can do. What's the question?
I just wanted to comment that unfortunately, I've noted that there is a phenomenon of too many children not showing respect for the standards of the home. In other words, when the parents, for example, even just expect a child to be wearing a kippah while at home, even that is not respected. And I'm talking about teenage years, and that's regretful that you have too many kids that don't have that basic respect. I mean, it's almost hard for me to imagine sometimes when I see neighbors with children like that who do not show the proper respect while in the parents' home. I'm not talking about what they do on the street even.
Right. So again, we go back to the mirror, and thank you for bringing that up. We go back to the mirror, and as a parent, the first thing that happens is you judge your kid. You say, you're not showing respect, you're being disrespectful, you don't even have the decency to follow the rules in the house. All of these things, write them down. Take a moment and really write them down and get really silent with it, because the truth is that you will only see something that you have in you, right? And it goes for good things, it goes for negative things. You won't see that someone is patient unless you have patience, right? You will only say you see the things that are in you. So when you're rubbed the wrong way, or when you're upset with your kid, or when you feel disrespected, the first thing you do is separate yourself. It has nothing to do with that person, right? It's like you getting annoyed with the mirror for showing you that you have a stain. It has nothing to do with the kid. What am I supposed to see here? Why am I feeling so disrespected? Why am I feeling so unstable with what's going on? Right? Where is this instability coming from? And then turn it around. Maybe there is something that I am not respecting. Maybe I'm not listening. Maybe I'm not communicating properly. What's going on with my relationship with the child beyond the kippah? Because, as you know, it's not really what's on the head, it's really what's in the head, right? We want to have a conversation that's intellectual. We don't want to be nitty-grittying about, oh, you're not doing this, you're not. We're focused so much on what they're not doing and what's not right. And today's generation, the kids are thirsty for real connection, for deep, meaningful connection. And it's the generation of Geulah. They're not going to take the, superficial stuff. It's not working anymore. You can't fake it. It's the deepest, most, it's the stuff that sits all the way down in your stomach that has to come up, all the love and all the, real emotions and real opinions and real thought-provoking conversations. That's what they're thirsty for. And they're thirsty for action that actually matters. These teenagers, they're powerful, they're amazing, and they feel exhausted from having to fake it or having to, be superficial. So if it feels like, oh, all you care about is the kippah, or all you care about is that I dress this way, and you don't even want to talk to me about the things that matter to me, then it gets into this really icky atmosphere. So again, if I'm talking to the parents, stop, right? Before we were talking, the kid feels disrespected by his parents because they don't get him. Now we're talking about the other way. The parents feel disrespected. Again, whoever I talk to, I tell them, turn it around. Look at yourself. Let's see where the stain is. Where is it sitting? And by the way, I'm going to give you a really practical, because my business is all about connecting for real, right? Connected for real. Connected is we're really up there deep, that real connection, but for real is the practical. And that's what we need. We can't be fluff up there all the time in this, theoretical stuff. So let's take this really, really to the next level and ask the question that's going to help you know what to do in the moment. It's, what do I want them to do? What do I need them to say? What do I need them to think? For me to be happy, what do I need them to feel, right? And it's think, do, feel, or say. For me to be happy, I need him to respect me. Great, turn it around. I need to respect him. Maybe the turnaround is, I need to respect myself, right? Because if you don't respect your own rules, then what are they going to do? Just not, it's very difficult. I need them to feel comfortable. Great. So feel comfortable. It's your own house. Stop being all so tight and, looking and detailing and picking at everything that they do. Just chill, right? Whatever you think needs to happen from the other side is going to be your practical thing to do right now in order to know what to do right now. Is this really powerful? And by the way, the work by Byron Katie is an entire worksheet that's 6 questions long. It's 1 page, and it walks you through the entire process of how to judge someone favorably. And it's beautiful. And I teach it because it's so powerful. In 1 hour, you can walk yourself through the entire process. And step 1 is judge. You have to put it all down on paper. You got to get it out of your system, because when it's in your head, you are obsessing over something that looks like a tornado full of thoughts, and it's shift changes, right? It's a shape shifting craze in your head. So it's like, oh, he saw this, and oh yeah, did you see that? Oh, blah, blah, blah. And your stuff is just all over. And when you put it down on paper, you're like, whew, anything else, right? Like, you just got it all out. Now you can actually look at it. Now we can see what we're working with. So the first step is judging. Put it all down, right? Because we always jump this step. We don't want to judge. We try to be so good. Like, okay, I'm not going to judge. I'm not going to judge. But what happens is we're just bottling it down, and that's not healthy. What we want to do is get it all out, take it out of your system, put it out on paper, and now we could, now you could start figuring it out. So that's step one. Step two is questioning it and being really inquisitive. Like, allow yourself to inquire, is this even true? And a lot of the stuff is not. And knowing and being honest about it is really beautiful. And she has 4 questions that you ask, and then she has the turnarounds, which is the third step. And the turnarounds is what we've been talking about, is can you stop everything and allow yourself to be honest enough to say, wait, where am I able to clean up my own stain? And, as we said, the magic comes when you clean up your own stain and you walk around and you're like, all the mirrors in the house are clean suddenly. Oh my gosh, isn't that amazing? Right? And that's what happens in real life too. You walk around, you suddenly see people are a lot nicer. And you used to see how everyone is so angry all the time, and suddenly, like, they're all calm, right? It's because you worked really hard on your own anger. So that's the answer to that. Is there any more questions to follow up? Or should I go to the next one?
What you said reminds me a little bit about I think one of Rabbi Nachman's teachings, which is a little bit hard to understand, about when you see the point of light in somebody else, then you're actually changing the person.
Yes. And in Tehillim, it says something about look at his place and he's no longer there, because you're able to see. When you're able to see the good in someone, you are that, and Rabbi Nachman does talk about this. When you can see the good in someone, you raise that part of them. And then instead of, oh, okay, 1 second. 1 second, we're taking a 1 second break. Okay, hope that was quick enough. When you see the good in someone, you automatically fill that up and make, enlarge that. So then you go look at the place where they were, right? That's where that bad guy was, and he's not there anymore. He's no longer there. That's, exactly what we're doing, is freeing people from the illusion that we've created of them. That's pretty much how it is. And most of the time when we are really, when we have people who maybe became more religious than their parents or chose a different path, what happens is that the biggest frustration is they judge me, they think I'm like everyone else, and they have all these preconceived notions about religious people, and really they're not even giving me the time of day to show them how human I am, or how normal I am, or how I haven't really changed that much, right? And that's what's happening, is they have this preconceived notion that they have created, and you happen to fit there right now. And if they would just take a moment to look at what's actually the truth and what's actually in front of them, then the preconceived notion is, evaporated. So thank you. Yes, it's true. Rabbi Nachman does talk about this, and it's really beautiful. Are there any more questions, or should we take another one? Let's see. Oh, I like this one. How do I deal with hyper pressure from my parents to get married? You thank them for thinking of you and being so loving and caring. And then you move on. Like, you do what's right for you. If you're not ready to get married, get ready, right? Because it's a mitzvah. You don't want to just be like, oh, I'm not ready. Just like Shabbat. If my husband always says this, if Shabbat is coming, you're not going to be like, well, I'm not ready for Shabbat. It's like, okay, so get ready. It's coming. It's inevitable. It's your job to get ready. So what does that mean for you? Maybe you have to, I don't know, get guidance. Maybe you have to start learning about it. Maybe you have to be around people who are married and have healthy relationships so that you can learn what that looks like. Maybe you get a coach and you work through some of the stuff. Maybe you go to therapy. Whatever you have to do in order to get married, you can say, I'm getting ready. I'm not there yet, but I'm getting ready, right? And so that's your responsibility. But in regards to your parents who are pressuring you, they love you. That's why they're pressuring you. So you say thank you. And you can have an honest conversation about how you don't feel ready yet, but you really appreciate that they are caring for you, that they, are worried about you, that they are going out of their way to try and help you. That's what's happening, right? Sometimes we don't take the moment to think about what's actually happening on the other side because we're so stuck in our own story. We all have a story. Every single person in this universe has a story and has a journey and has their own things that they're going through. So sometimes just getting out of your own story and opening up to see what's on the other side, right? Why are they even doing this? Will allow you to allow it in. It's just, okay, thank you. I have another thing to say about this. Was that a good question, a good answer? I have another thing to say about this also. And this is something I learned from my sister. So genius, so genius. Before we made Aliyah, I was still single and I used to come to visit. And I would come for a month or 3 months or whenever. It was really important for me to come during breaks and during holidays, whatever. It was really fun. I wanted to be here, right? So because I couldn't come permanently, I kept being drawn to just come. And I'm sure you guys all relate, those who are not in Israel. And maybe if you are in Israel, you remember how it used to be. And anytime I would see family or friends or people who I would go to often say, no, so when are you getting, so when are you coming? So when is this going to be permanent? Right. And there's the same question over and over again. And you start getting annoyed. You're like, why is everybody asking the same thing? Right. It's like, and it could be, it could happen also with Emertz Hashem by you. Are you ready yet? Are you going out? Is there anything going on? Right. And by the way, it happens also when you're pregnant. It's like, when are you due? Oh, are you over yet? Are you under yet? Oh, is it a boy? Is it a girl? I'm like, people they like to talk. They like to have something to talk about. So sometimes the obvious things are going to keep coming up. And if it triggers something in you and it feels uncomfortable or it's not, you get, why is everyone asking me that? Or why is everyone saying this? Create a mental punch card. That's what they're called. Create a mental punch card. And anytime someone says it, you're like, punch. Okay, that's one today. And you just make it a game. You keep track of how many people brought up the subject today, oh, isn't that interesting? In one holiday, 4 aunts asked me when I'm whatever, right? It's okay. They're allowed to ask, and you're allowed to punch the card and be like, yay, another person. And once you get out of that story of what that means, right? I have a friend, Hannah Mason, who has one of the tools she uses is the ATM machine. Every thought you put in has a ATM, and that means, right? So they asked me when I'm getting married, and that means that I'm not, something's wrong with me. I'm not getting married fast enough. What's going on? But right? Like, we make up the ATM. They just ask the question. They just want to know. They just, I don't know, curious. They just ask whatever, trying to be helpful, right? Whatever is their part, that's fine. But the problem starts when we make it mean something, and it doesn't have to mean anything. The second you make a punch card in your head and you make it into a game, then it no longer means anything. It just becomes, a fun game. And when you take the meaning out of it, then you are now free to worry about how you're going to get there, right? And we could talk about this more, but that would be my answer for that. So that was addressing both sides of the pressure for marriage. Let's see. If anybody has any live questions, now would be a good time to ask. I'm going to look for the next one. Ooh, this is a good one. Let's see. How do I balance my desire to learn more Torah on the Chag with my relatives wanting to talk and catch up on things? And this is a very this is very much my husband. It's very funny. When I read this question that came in, I'm like, oh, did my husband tell you to write that? Because my husband always wants to learn more Torah. And I am very much a people person and connections, and yay, this is so fun. We have a holiday, we could spend it all day long just playing games and talking, right? So first of all, just awareness. It's a personality thing, right? Some people are people, and some people are book people, and some people are interested in maybe navigating their focus on different priorities, and that's okay, right? So becoming aware of that will just make it easier to not take it personally. Like, people don't wake up in the morning thinking, how do I make sure that person doesn't learn more Torah, right? It's not their goal in life. People are just excited to see you or excited to catch up. And this is finally a time that they can catch up, right? So what I would say is, there's a very nice saying that says, fail to prepare and you prepare to fail. Get it? Fail to prepare and you prepare to fail. If you're going into a holiday and you haven't thought this through, then when you get there and it suddenly hits you, you're going to be a lot more shocked, and I can't think of the right word. It's coming out as like something like sizzled or something, but that's exactly how it feels, right? It's like that. I don't know what to do now. And it hits you. Don't get there. Don't let that happen to you. And if it does happen to you, normal, don't worry about it. No judgment. But you can prepare ahead of time and really think it through. Look at the calendar. Look at, not the calendar, the schedule. When are we eating? When are we praying? When are we going to have downtime? What is everyone going to be doing? And when am I going to be expected to socialize and, get out of my little shell? This is very much like extrovert introvert thing, right? It's like some people thrive when they're around people and they can't be alone, and some people are like, just leave me alone, and when they have to go out to people, they drain. And so awareness, really key. Know what you need. If you're a person who really needs that quiet time, look at the schedule and say, I'm going to wake up earlier. I'm going to, learn before everyone bothers me, right? Like, I'm going to get it done, that big chunk of time where I just know it's my time. Or if I'm going to sit through a really long, drawn out, different than what I would like to be in prayer, right? bring a book with you. Right. I know that my husband brings his Gemaras or his whatever types of books, and he knows when it's actual prayer and when it's time for reading and learning, right? Between things, or dead times, like kiddish club times, right? I don't know. I don't go to shul that much because I have the kids, but I'm sure that um those times happen. If you can pre-think of all the things that are going to come up and how you're going to deal with them, then when they come up, you're going to be so chill. They'll be like, yes, I want to catch up with you. And I already thought about the ways that I'm going to talk about what I'm doing so that I have an interesting way to, tell you about things. By the way, especially old people, grandparents, parents, aunts, uncles, they want stories. They want real juicy stuff. They want to know what's happening in your life. They're not interested in the technical, oh, so here's where I'm learning and here's what I'm doing. And this is the schedule of my day. And that's it, right? They want to know, what is a conflict you're having, or what's something that's coming up in your life, or how can I help you with something? Hello. We have a visitor. So exciting. Somebody napped today. And so she's very, very happy to be here with us. They want to know what's going on with you. So instead of being put on the spot and not knowing what to talk to them about, think it through. Come up with some main stories you're going to repeat a couple of times, right? Or what is the focus? Maybe you're going to use it as networking, right? This is the type of job I'm looking for, and this is why I'm so good at it, and this is why I'm so passionate. Or if you're trying to fundraise for the thing that you're so excited about, start telling them about why it's important to you and why you think that this is the most exciting thing that you've been working on, right? I'm just giving you some ideas, but when you come prepared with what you're going to say to those people who want to chat, then they're going to feel satiated and like, wow, we had such a great conversation with, that guy or that girl, whoever, right? And then they're going to leave you alone because they feel like they checkmarked you. Like, yes, I got to that nephew and I know what he's up to. And I'm excited about helping him in his, whatever. And then you could go learn. Like, you'd be like, oh, it was so nice talking to you, but I really have to go to sleep, or I really have to go to learn, or I really have to excuse myself, get out and go do your thing. But it's because you came prepared that you were able to just, go through the motions and get it done. Okay. Another thing that is important for you to know is that when you're talking to the people who want to talk to you, you are not in jail against, it's not like you can't learn Torah. You actually can bring Torah into the conversation. And a lot of people think that they're not going to know. They're not going to care. It's just, they're not into that. But when you prepare ahead of time, you can actually come up with some really interesting Torah things, or interesting conversations that are coming up in, current events, or what's happening in, the medical world that is bringing up a lot of halachic issues. These are really interesting things that are Torah conversations that you can actually start the wheels turning in people's minds about Torah issues. So you get double points for that, because you're learning Torah and you're getting other people to bring God into their life, learn something about, how this world works. You can run some ideas by them. Maybe if you're coming up with some, I don't know, Torah, chidushim, whatever. Okay. The sky's the limit. How to deal with maintaining religious level when the atmosphere is very unreligious. Example, when it is considered a given in a given location that one will go to the beach, which is mixed. Very good question. Again, fail to prepare and you prepare to fail. If you show up at that beach house and you don't know what you're going to do, you're going to find yourself on a Shabbos without the ability to ask anyone for shilas and stuck with people who are expecting you, and then there's an explosion and you get really upset about how they don't hear you, right? Like everything just becomes a bigger deal when you don't know what to do, when you feel that. So again, the call method, connect to yourself, take a breather, think it through. What is going to come up there? What am I even doing there? What am I going to ask my rabbi ahead of time? How am I going to prepare? What do I want from that experience? And once I have all that, then I can implement when I'm there. Okay. I hope that was a good answer for you. Same with Shabbat, same with Kashrut. There's, we're going to have all these questions come up a lot because people are going home, and home doesn't necessarily mean what you're used to and what you want and what you're comfortable with. So can you imagine getting really clear on, I really want to have a whole set of kosher dishes, or I really want to have kosher food available and not have to think about it. Maybe you can work it out ahead of time. Maybe you can communicate differently, but always after getting in touch with what you want, always step 2 is ask Hashem, bring him into the picture. He's your partner. He's right here. He's guiding you through it. He got you where you are, on purpose. Nothing is a mistake. So he's also going to know how to guide you further. So lean into that. I think we're up to time. I can go on with more questions, but I think we should wrap it up.
So thank you very much again, Rabbanit Grossman, for your time.
Simcha. Thank you so much. If anybody has any more questions and they didn't get answered, or if I can help you in any way, feel free to find me on Instagram, on Facebook, or on WhatsApp. Machon Shilo has my information, and they can help you get in touch with me.
Yes, if you write an email to office@machonshilo.org, we can provide you with the information.
Very good. Thank you so much. Gmar Chatima Tova to everyone.
Gmar Chatima Tova, Shana Tova.
Shana Tova.
We would like to encourage our viewers to share these videos with friends and send in your responses. If you would like to obtain Birkon Nusach Eretz Yisrael or invite the rabbi for a speaking engagement, please email us at office@machonshilo.org.